I'm always excited when Cathie is on the show because you have a way of turning a white piece of paper into something so beautiful, and you have not let us down with this beautiful card that started off as white Super Stock.
It did.
And you've added layers and layers of love, and I know that you did that with your Cathie Allan Position-it.
I did. We're going to do I'll show you a really quick, fast background. Okay, I'm going to show you one layer. I, of course, am choosing to use a petal point, and it is pigment ink.
And your stamp is Impression Obsession.
It is. And
probably one of the most beautiful butterfly stamps I've ever seen.
Yes, I think it's graced very, very many of my projects lately.
Beautiful.
I can't get away from it. And of course, I'm going to take that stamp and I'm going to stamp it on my paper as I see fit.
Cathie is stamping on Creative Scrapbooker Super Stock. Nice, heavy, thick cardstock.
Pigment ink stays wet for a long time. So I don't want to add color, but I want to actually extend the color.
So you're adding some Top Boss Clear.
I am.
It's like an extender, that's what Cathie calls it. So you are keeping the ink wet longer, and it allows you to move it around.
It does.
Like
the ink itself, its characteristic to stay longer so that we can, with magic of television, get our first layer.
Oh, there we go. So we've done that.
And I've stamped it a couple more times.
And you've just stamped randomly with no Position-it to get that. Okay.
I've actually added a second layer.
Dun, da, da, da.
Dun, da, da, just special for television. I added a second layer, and I used the heliotrope section of the stamp pad.
And again, you just stamped randomly,
and smeared
no Position-it, and
pushed it into the background.
And that's a real technical scrapbooking word.
Yeah, we do a lot of smearing.
We smear a lot. Cathie smears.
This time, I want to stamp an image several times, okay? So what I'm going to do, and I'll get you, Jackie, just to give that a swipe for me. Here you go.
Okay.
Okay. And I'm going to use several pieces. Remember, the Cathie Allan Position-it comes with several pieces because it's meant to be used with all types of stamps, wing, clear, and a wood handle. And you can see what I've done is I want to be able to see where my image is going. So I actually, on my board, with two positioners in place, stamped my butterfly using an archival ink die and onto the clear acrylic piece that comes with the kit.
And that just washes off afterwards.
It does.
So don't worry, you don't have a permanent butterfly on that acrylic piece.
Exactly. So now you can see what I can do is I can slide this underneath and I can position exactly where I want my next butterfly. All I do is pull that paper around. I'm happy with it there.
Yeah, that looks very pretty.
I like it. So now, again, we're just going to use some Scotch tape, and we're going to tape the scrap paper down.
And the reason why Cathie put her project on a scrap piece of paper is so that when she tapes it down, she's not putting tape on the project itself, and she's not stamping on the Position-it. So she's keeping her Position-it nice and clean.
Exactly.
And you actually adhered this to the scrap piece of paper with a repositional adhesive from Scrapbook Adhesives by Floral.
Yes, and you will love it because it holds and yet it comes off the back.
And then it just rubs off, like you get all that little.
Exactly.
I want to say snot, but I don't think that's the right word. I don't think that's the right word.
I can't even fix that, Jackie. What I'm going to do, beauty of pigment ink, is of course we can work from light colors to dark colors, but we can come back to light colors again. And now we had the acrylic piece in there.
So we know where it's going.
And we're going to simply take our stamp.
Okay.
And of course,
Cathie's got a really cool handle on top there. It's packing tape so that she can pull it off really nicely.
And you can see, you can just barely see it. Can you see that you can just barely see it?
That's right.
But through the magic of being able to stamp this stamp over and over and over again in exactly the same place, I can build that light color that comes in the, I think it's the Bluebells palette. And you see how it's getting darker and darker and darker. You can do this 3, 4, 5 times. But what I want to show you is, what I want to do is I want to add that halo.
We want to do the halo effect that you can see on this card here.
I could take
time.
So
it's white in the center of this butterfly and then the gold.
And if you can see what I'm doing here, and I'll move it on top here, I'm simply taking platinum out of my alchemy stamp pad, and platinum happens to be my favorite. And I am going to ink this stamp just on the edges and stamp it There we go.
There we go.
And you can see the
Oh,
halo
yeah. That
is
is
coming.
stunning.
So that is how I created this background that is in this
On that card.
particular card.
Okay, Cathie, what else did you use? You've got some some FabScraps.
I did,
chipboard?
and I didn't want it to leave it.
Okay,
I did
we'll
not
put that
want.
aside.
Yeah, we'll take this aside. I did not want to leave it as it was. So what I did was I simply added a whiter highlight. This one I think is called Oyster White.
It amazes me that you can remember the names.
There's a few
I'm
colors.
impressed.
And of course, then I use the platinum, and I'm simply going to ink the platinum. I love the pointy end of
You can get into all the little tiny places.
I can.
Yeah.
And I could choose to emboss this. I choose not to because actually all I want is a subtle color. So more of the attention is drawn to Follow Your Bliss, which is also an impression session stamp.
Right.
And I added that to my
FabScraps
card.
has so much different kinds of chipboard, and it's perfect for altering.
Exactly. The only thing that you have to remember, because we use pigment ink, and of course metallic shows up better with pigment, if you want to heat set it so it just stays put, throw a piece of paper over there and iron it.
Iron it.
Yeah.
Done. And the rest
done.
of the card,
Yeah.
you have, these are all Impression Obsession stamps?
They are. Follow Your Bliss, and I simply, this is all one stamp, and I simply pulled out the flowers that were in the corners of the stamp, and using my Position-it was able to stamp it several times and pull out more flowers.
And Cathie, it looks like you used some markers, is that correct? To go around the
I
edges?
did. I made it very quick and simple. All I did was using Tombow markers to outline. And if you do it but before I used the marker, I put down some Top Boss again, so the marker would stay wet longer.
Right.
And then it would pull when I wanted to pull
It
it.
smeared a bit.
I like to smear
Got it
things.
with cool watercolor. Beautiful background, Cathie. Thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Oh, have fun. You can do this with any stamp, not just butterflies.